Welcome to the Heartwork podcast, where we delve into stories, struggles, and triumphs of entrepreneurship, leadership, and personal growth. I'm Dr. Sara.
And I'm Dr. Marisa. We're here to guide practitioners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and those just navigating the complexities of life on a journey of discovery that explores the dance between passion and strategy, heart and hustle.
With candid conversations, insightful interviews, and plenty of laughs, get ready to uncover how leading with heart can transform your business and life. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to another episode of the Heartwork podcast. Today, we're going to expand on the conversation of something that we both have been exploring, and that is getting back to the self. So, Sara, one thing that I have just noticed over this last year and a half is just how much, for the first time, I really have quote unquote, sacrificed other things that I love to do for the sake of rest and work and having what I feel like is an appropriate rest work balance. I'm in the phase of it. We're just coming through the startup phase of the business. It's just celebrated 2 years. It was a little bit of a, beautiful slow start. We've had a lot of team transition, growth. We're opening up. I'm learning to scale. I'm learning new things because I only operated in my first business for 6 months. But in my first business, it was COVID times. I literally had 2 jobs, show up to work and then go sit my ass at home. And so luckily, the gym started to open and stuff. And when we opened our practice, I was able to do that. So I did get to have a physical outlet in the mornings, and I would go at 6 or 7 a.m. and then go to work, come home, do whatever I needed to do, go to sleep, rinse and repeat. But at least that connection to the physical outlet, at least for me, this growing up, being athletic, there were a lot of times where we would just work out throughout the days. And it's something that I truly enjoy. I still coach CrossFit at least just once a week just to stay connected. It's something that I do purely love. But especially if I have an early morning and I have a late night, I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, okay, I can either get 6.5 hours of sleep and just wake up to be able to be present in my office again, or I can get 4.5, 5 hours of sleep, work out. That might make me more fatigued and lethargic, not be as cognitively present in the practice, rinse and repeat, because I'm not actually getting the sleep. So for a period of time, I kind of convinced myself that I was going to be sleeping more to stay healthier and more energized to be able to work better. And so I ignored a lot. I have not for the last, oh my gosh, since 2012, worked out any less than 3 times a week. And so for me to only go maybe 4 times a month, and I have some workout equipment here, I might move my body if I'm feeling it, but I'm embarrassed to say I have not been. I've been my worst patient with that. And so this past couple weeks, I have actually gotten back into the gym. I have an accountability buddy. If I don't go at 6 a.m., I can't go at all. So it's about just waking up, going and doing it. So I've set myself up for success a little bit more by having workout clothes out in the morning. So I just get up. I don't have to disturb my husband or our dog. And I can just go into this little side room, get dressed and go. And it's felt so good. Getting back to working out again and expressing myself in that physical way has just been so expansive and has felt so good in my soul, even though I physically feel so sore. My abs hurt from doing butterfly sit-ups one day. I swear I could not even do an adjustment on a patient without ugh. It feels it just feels so sore. And so I was in the shower. A lot of downloads come for me when I'm in the shower, just on a walk, just kind of mindlessly doing something else. And I realized that having this other outlet has actually made me more present in my business. The hardest part is when I feel we get so focused in on one aspect of our life. And for me, that was this business, wanting to see it grow, wanting to see it flourish, wanting to make sure that I was growing clinically. I was growing as a leader. I'm growing as a business owner, that I did tend to ignore other things in my life that made me feel whole personally, because also at the same time, not only was I navigating being a business owner for longevity, not just for 6 months, but also we celebrated our first year wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
So if going to the gym and being more tired in the morning meant that I would come home after working a full day and be more tired and not as present with my husband, I also didn't want that. So if I could sacrifice some time to like be with my person, which also feels really good, like I just started to ignore some of those other things.
Mm-hmm.
But when that would happen, like I literally would wake up thinking about what I needed to do to the business. How early can I get there to get some extra work done in the morning? And then I would go there and there would be a million things that just happen from the natural rhythm of the day that you don't expect. So the time you think you're going to have in the middle of everything isn't always super present. And so then I would think, oh my gosh, like I didn't get to this and I didn't get to that. And I'll have to wake up. Okay, I'll just wake up earlier tomorrow and do it tomorrow morning. And then I would get home and I would just want to chill with my husband, or I would want to read like a piece of the book. And then I would go to sleep late, or I would just consume TV to like quote unquote decompress. And then it would be like, okay, I got to wake up early in the morning to do that. But then I would wake up, my alarm would go off and I'd be so tired. Okay, I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm going to get 30 extra minutes of sleep so that I can get up, get to the office early to do the things that I feel behind on. And so this cycle of feeling the lack of time there, and then the lack of time to cook at home, and then the lack of time to work out, and then the lack of not having and not having and not having enough resource, not having enough money. All this did feeling behind on sleep, on paperwork, on patience, on finding an associate, on doing more training videos, on learning more. Like, do you feel how out of control even my demeanor in this conversation is? So it's just incredible. So then, like, obviously, I'm going to start showing up out of lack. And guess what? If I feel like I'm out of control and lacking time and resource, what am I going to start doing? Freaking nitpicking everything that my team and other people in my life aren't doing. If I start nitpicking, like, we're not working fast enough, or we're not doing enough, or there's too much downtime, or we're not being enough productive, or I start like doing that even on my husband, like, you know, you clean the house, why didn't you clean the bathroom?
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? Like you're just focusing on the lack and you're bleeding that onto other people because you're feeling insecure about how you're showing up when in fact you're just holding yourself to this arbitrary standard and you're hyper fixating on one aspect of your life. The minute that I started getting back into the gym and getting back to myself and pouring back, even just with that one thing, my brain had other avenues to focus on other than the business. So then that allowed me to like hold more loosely to the business. Because guess what? I was thinking about like, oh, fun. Like I'm super sore right now. Or like, wow, it felt so good to move in that way. Or like, I wonder what the workout's going to be tomorrow. And my brain has other avenues to exercise its ambition, if you would. And that actually allows me to like flourish and expand more because my life is more robust. My life includes things that bring and pour back into me versus me just constantly having to pour back into it. I mean, we do this and we talk about Heartwork and we've talked about this topic before, but we're all human and we go in these rhythms where we can notice that the purpose of doing Heartwork is being able to see it, is being able to recognize it, is being able to sit in it and be curious about the feelings and the way that we're showing up. And so I had this download of this analogy of like growing a garden. And like when you're growing a garden, if you literally sit there and stare at the dirt and wait for a seedling to sprout and you're just watching and your eyes are just looking at it, you literally are missing everything else going on in your world. And it's like you don't even notice or get to appreciate the sprout versus if you plant it, you leave it, you water it, you do your thing and you go on. Right. And then one day you come and you see this beautiful seedling. But if you're just sitting at it and you're looking at it, what are you going to start to do? Is it too slow? Is it too fast? Do I need to get Miracle Grow? I should put some Miracle Grow in it. Let's put some Miracle Grow in it. You water it a little bit more. You're waiting, tapping your fingers. Where is it going? Where is it coming? It's not there. Okay, maybe I didn't do it right. Maybe I need different dirt. Let me go get some different soil to help promote it. And all you're doing is just fixating on trying to make this thing happen when nature doesn't happen that way. And neither do we. I also thought about it because like we see a lot of babies in our practice. And so if I see a baby, you know, once a week, couple times a week or whatever it is, right? If the parents bring in their kiddo and I'm looking at kiddo and I'm like, oh my gosh, baby has like filled in or baby's grown or oh my gosh, look how long they are. Their face is changing. And the parent or parents are like, What do you mean? Like, really? You see it? Because they're looking at their child every single day. So those changes, they don't always pick up on. But like when there's space between when I see that kiddo, I can really, wow, appreciate like the development and the differences in just a different way, right? As just a different example. So that's kind of the download that I had this week that I wanted to share because I feel like we can get so fixated on something, especially when we have goals and we are ambitious people or we're achievers or we're high performers. Like you forget that life is so much more about the thing that you're trying to achieve in the moment.
Absolutely. I think when we are consuming so much and we are taking in so much other information and you're only fixated on the one thing, we also then miss what your heart actually wants. This is kind of what you're talking about at the end of the day. It's like you miss what your heart desires and you're only in the busyness and you're only in the to-dos, the multitasking times 1,000, and like you're actually not like in what actually potentially also gives you a lot of joy. Like what you're saying, it's like it's giving you a lot more joy and a lot more expansiveness. And that's something that like I know for me, I've had to learn this a lot. Like I've always said, like you need to learn how to be able to work hard, but rest well when it comes to really navigating your heart and the world that I've come to notice in this Heartwork journey. It takes work and it takes intentionality and it takes sometimes also getting out of your habitual ritual, and out of that habitual routine that we always have. And my husband and I actually just had a conversation with our heart coach, Pablo, and we're really just talking about like, even in relationship, you can get so mundane, so routine, so habitual that you can become almost just like roommates, even with the person that you adore and you love the most, and in that, then you can lose a lot of connectedness, not only to yourself, but at the same time, you can lose a lot of connectiveness to that person. And we were talking about just even the strategy of like, not just, yes, like it takes work and it takes the opportunity to have awareness of what the other person is thinking, what you're thinking, and how that then molds together. Because in relationship, but also what you're talking about, everything that you just said is very independent of the bigger picture, right?
Yes.
And it's very independent from what your heart wants. And when you put your head down, it's like, I am just in this, I'm not looking at anything else, I'm busy. And then, like you said, it's going to create this sense of lack. And it will relate into every aspect of your life. So I have literally done that in my relationship where in turn, I have been very independent in my own like self-development, my own self-heart, my work that I've done. And no, don't get me wrong. I think that's incredibly important. You have to do the work so that you can even understand and care for another human. Like there is that balance in that too. Well, also because we have both really my husband and I are so intentional with doing the work, it can also create this space where we are very interdependent of each other, along with trying to also be very connected to each other, And so, and in turn, it's really easy to be nitpicky, even to the person that you adore and to the person that you want to like literally live life with. And so we even just have strategized of like, okay, we need a weekly meeting once a week to where we're sitting down, we're talking about the things that matter, we're talking about the things that we care about so that we actually can connect and actually really be honest and real with each other, not just trying to come up with all these things of like, you did this wrong, I need to do this, like it's an intentionality with it and a connectiveness. And I think the coolest part and why I even bring that up is like at the end of the day, I think we all look for a sense of connectedness first and foremost to ourselves. But what we're doing when we're looking and trying to consume, we're looking for connection and we're looking for this identity of love, care, worth, and all these other things. But it can only narrow you so much to a place to where you can't see anything else and you actually don't know what your heart wants. And so it's crazy. So anyway, like I think like at the end of the day, when we take the time to actually connect with ourselves and connect with the things that bring you joy, maybe that's working out, maybe that's getting outside, maybe I love doing puzzles, like, so it's like doing a puzzle that actually like has a time to be able to, my brain gets to just like stop and gets out of itself, but it gives a chance to really connect to something that's outside of yourself. And it gives opportunity to have God do something else besides just what you're trying to control.
Yeah. Well, and also not feeling guilty about it, right? Like how many of us are so focused in on like doing all the time that we actually feel guilty about taking the rest? Or it's like, let me do this puzzle, which gives me joy. But I'm going to have that podcast that I've been wanting to listen to on the background that's like about my self-development or like, this clinical science that I want to learn about, or like, I can't, watch this movie or TV show that I've been wanting to watch. So let me just bring out my computer and I'll answer emails at the same time. So it's like I'm watching TV, but also feeling productive, feeling worthy of watching the TV show. And I think this is like the dark side of personal development. Like you can get so lost in it and you're just opening yourself up to just constant information and guzzling down and wanting to learn because you want to grow and you want to better yourself. And that's incredible and that's a value. But if you're just constantly consuming because you're trying to learn, well, what about then just sitting in that?
Right.
What about taking in the information? Where's the being in all of that and the presence, right? So if you're thinking that you need to know it all about everything, and you're just trying to take it all in to better yourself, well, then what about actually taking the action to like, okay, I read this cool quote, or okay, I read this chapter of this book that really resonated with me. Okay, stop then. Take that quote or that chapter or that saying or phrase or thing that you learned and now see how it shows up for you in your day.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the pavement, go out there and be present, go to your workout. Notice how those things might infiltrate and carry into your life because obviously you can drive yourself crazy and lose yourself in the process of trying to find yourself.
Totally.
So we can tend to like solve psychological overwhelm with more psychological driven solutions. And it's like trying to, calm it down and find yourself by reading 25 different articles about calming down to find yourself, right? But then never actually just like doing it.
And then you don't know who you are in it. Like that's
yes.
You don't know who you are when you're consuming somebody else's content.
Oh, absolutely. And like, then people think, okay, well, instead of just consuming a whole bunch of stuff, I'm going to be more selective about the things I do consume. And yes, that does help to tailor down, obviously, the feeling of needing more, and to be better. But it's not about that. It's just about remembering how to simply be so that you can experience what your heart is saying along in the process.
Right.
So like, when you are just simply being, and it is this like juicy, delicious feeling of just existing, and you like lose all track of time with it, right? You can take yourself to a moment, stay with me, where like, maybe it's the sunlight on your skin. Maybe it's being close to water and like hearing the beautiful movement of the waves. Maybe it's out on your horse seeing Winnie. Maybe for me, it is the clang of the barbells in the gym. Like wherever that place is where you just lose track of time, like that's not you just being present, right? Because that's like a catchphrase. We hear that all the time. Be more present in your life, exist in your life, right? But it's just you remembering who you are and what you love beneath all of the rest of the striving. So if we could give our audience like things to do, maybe that's where we start. Like just pick just one thing that makes you lose all quantum sense of time. And it's all in the best way, not because it's productive, not because it's Instagram worthy, because you're going to take a picture of you doing it and you're going to share it on your highlight reel, just because it makes your heart and your strings and your cells sing. Yeah. Like, daily, right? Maybe it's 10 minutes, maybe it's 2. It doesn't matter. Just let it be messy, let it be imperfect, and then start noticing when you reach for consumption. Start noticing when you reach for your phone instead, when you reach to share, when you reach for the security blanket. Obviously, not saying you can't reach and enjoy and share, but notice it, right? Be curious, experience the feelings, understand what's actually coming up. Where is that reach truly coming from? And that awareness alone is going to start shifting things out. So it's almost like giving yourself permission to just be bored and not be guilty about it. I feel like too, I see this a lot with kids. Like this is not a revolutionary concept in 2025, but sometimes it can feel that way because I don't even think our kids are bored enough.
Right.
Like they're just constantly in access to information or going places and doing things. And let's head here. Let's go to the park. Let's go to the trampoline. Let's go paint things. Let's go to the music class. Let's go to the library to read a book. Let's get outside. Like all these things, they're all beautiful, amazing, incredible things. I'm not saying don't do those things, but like, I don't know. We just had to like figure out how to play when we were kids. Like you got to be creative. You got to use your imagination. And that's where sometimes more of the personalities come through and the things that do come to your brain because they're coming from your heart, because they're not coming from anyone or anything else. And that's where you really get to see your heart speak and thrive. Because the thing about hyperfixation on everything else, whether for us as adults, it's work, or whether it's our business, or whether it's our money, it's actually rarely about those things, right? It's about trying to seek security and certainty in a world that literally has none. It is not a certain world. And so trying to feel worthy in a culture and a world that's, we talked about this before. It's always confused productivity with worth and with value. And we talk about this a lot in our honor and awareness training that we do and that we discussed in episode 2 or 3, one of our first releases, right? So the moment you really start treating your attention and where you host it, like the same way that you would treat any other precious, invaluable resource you have, because it truly is that, that's really when things are going to shift. Not because you've figured out how to optimize your way there, or that you can listen to this podcast on 2 speed and therefore you can consume 3 in the same amount of time that you can consume 1, right? But because you remembered like what you knew and what your heart is really telling you before the rest of the world tells you to forget and shows you how.
That's amazing. And I think as we close this up, the more that you consume does not always mean that it drives your worth and that it's going to make you more valuable when it comes to the day. Sometimes it's not always about the more that you do. Sometimes it's about doing less and becoming more, So if you enjoyed what you heard today, we are so excited that you are here. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please share, please follow, please rate the show, and we look forward to chatting with you next week.
Bye.